Hi everyone, Koshan here, and for this video it's going to be a continuation of the last video I did, which was the Sony Xperia Pro-I versus the Sony ZVE-10 in low light conditions using auto mode. Now the issue that some people may have found with that video was the aperture for the ZVE-10 was set to auto, and it didn't match the aperture of f2.0 on the Sony Xperia Pro-I. So for this video, this is going to be a comparison with both cameras set to f2.0. Alright, let's get this started. Now before I go into the comparison between the two cameras, I'm going to bring up an issue that I saw in the last video, and that was with the autofocusing performance with the ZVE-10. So this next section is going to briefly go over that. If you don't want to watch that, then just go ahead and skip over to the comparison between the two cameras. So now the ZVE-10 is on aperture priority mode, set to f2.0. However, the ISO and auto white balance is set to auto. The shutter speed is still at 1/50. I don't know if you noticed this in that last video. The Sony ZVE-10 was having some autofocus issues. You might not be able to see this on a smaller screen like a smartphone, but I could see it here when I was editing on my computer monitor that it was having trouble focusing on me through many of the tests that I did. Now, maybe one of the reasons the ZVE-10 was struggling with autofocus was because the aperture was wide open. It was at f1.4. I'm not too sure right now. We will see later on during this video if that was the case. I have friends that own the ZVE-10 or similar cameras, and they have reported autofocus issues in low light with other lenses, not just the Sigma one here, but also with the Sony 35mm f1.8 and also the kit lens that typically comes with these cameras. Many people, believe it or not, use auto mode, whether it's for a digital camera or this type of camera or smartphone. A lot of them prefer convenience. They want something quick to use. They want something light. They want to be able to just put it in their pocket or in their bag. Let's say they want to do a TikTok or a YouTube short video. They want to be able to pull it out and just start filming. And this is something that we need to keep in mind when we look at these comparisons. It's not about showing which one is better than the other. It's more about, is this good enough for what I want to do, and does it suit my needs? As content creators, photographers, videographers, it's an art form, and in art we should be open-minded. It's okay to have our opinions, but we also need to see the other side of things. So keep an open mind, and I will let you decide at the end of this video which camera you prefer for your needs. Also, for this comparison, I moved the Rode video mic from the top of each camera to a tripod, and it's sitting right in front of me. So it will give you an idea of how the audio sounds when the microphone is closer to you. All right, enough of me talking. Let's start with the Sony ZVE-10 low light performance in aperture priority mode, but everything else in auto. Right now I'm doing a late morning hike. I have about 35 pounds in my backpack here. It's probably why my shoulders are red. This is a good chance for you to see how the Sony Xperia Pro-I main 24mm camera performs in natural lighting in an outdoor environment. I will do an outdoor and natural light comparison between the ZVE-10 and this camera in a future video. Also, this camera is using the rear mono microphone with intelligent wind filter on. So it is windy right now, and you'll be able to hear how it sounds using this option. Oh, also the image stabilization is turned on for this camera, and I'm using it handheld. In my past videos with this camera and the ZVE-10, when I did the low light performance comparison, I ran the test through each camera and then switched to the next one. For this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them side by side. So for each lighting condition, I'll show one camera's performance, and then right after I'll show the next. If you watched my previous video on the Sony Xperia Pro-I versus the Sony ZVE-10, you should already know the lighting setup that I'm using. Right now it's all lights on, and of course the aperture is set to f2.0 here. The ISO is around 200, so it went up a little bit more compared to the last video, and the shutter speed is still 1/50. The exposure settings are set to 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn off the light to my left. Here is the Sony Xperia Pro-I with all lights on. Now another thing that I've been doing to test the auto performance of these cameras in the light is I'll place different objects around me, and I do have both cameras set to face priority, and I want to see if it is staying locked onto my face. One of the things that Sony points out for both these cameras are its vlogging capabilities. And of course, when doing vlogs and for many situations, you want your face to be in focus. Once again, the aperture for this camera is set at f2.0, the ISO is at 640, and the shutter speed is 1/48. Auto exposure is set to automatic, and auto white balance is set to auto. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn off this light to my left. The light to my left is turned off. Right now the ISO is at 250. The shutter speed is still at 1/50. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn off the overhead light. The light is off to my left here. ISO is at 800 and the shutter speed is still at 1/48. Maybe you noticed between the two cameras that when I switch over to the Sony Xperia Pro-I, the shot looks more cropped in. Both of these cameras are set onto the same tripod in the same spot for these low light performance comparisons. Sony claims that the focal length for the main camera is 24mm. On the Sony ZVE-10, I'm using the Sigma 16mm. If you convert it to full frame equivalency, it's around 24mm. So there is something a bit off, but I'm only quoting what each manufacturer is claiming for their cameras and the lens. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and shut off the overhead light. I don't know if it's having focusing issues right now. I can't see it because the screen is really small. I'm not gonna be able to tell until I'm editing the videos on my monitor here. But right now the ISO is at 400. Shutter speed is still at a constant 1/50, and all the lights that I'm using right now is a main light here in front of me and some illumination from these background lights here. What I'm going to do next is turn off these two background lights. Now the overhead light is off. Just have the main light and these background lights for illumination. If I sound a bit off right now or my words are not clear, I just woke up and this is the only time I have to make this video before I have to work with some personal training clients later. I want to point out that my main job is not as a content creator. I'm actually a personal trainer. I'm sure if you've seen my channel, a lot of the videos are on health and fitness. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the background lights. Now if you're trying to check the video quality, the white balance, and the focusing performance for these clips, and you find them a bit short, then I recommend just pausing the video and checking it out further from there. I'm trying to drag out these segments with something to talk about so you can see the performance, but it's kind of difficult when doing these kind of tests. But right now the ISO is at 500 and the shutter speed is still at a constant 1/50. I'm gonna shut off the last light and let's see how it performs without any artificial light. The background lights are off and right now the ISO is at 2000, and I'm surprised at this, the shutter speed is still at 1/48. After the low light performance test of the Sony Xperia Pro-I, I'll go ahead and post screenshots of both cameras in the various lighting conditions so you can check out the video quality and the focusing capabilities. Let's go to the last test. I'm gonna go ahead and switch off this main light and let's just see what it looks like with sunlight coming through my tinted window. Here is the ZVE-10 with all lights off. Right now the ISO is at 6400, but I'm surprised the shutter speed stayed at 1/50. Maybe one of the issues with my last video was the comparison between the Xperia Pro-I and the ZVE-10. I wasn't in the same position as I am now. So for this video, I'm going to do exactly the same as Xperia Pro-I so you can actually see the daylight coming in to my room. It was dark and raining a little bit earlier, but for this portion the sun came out, and of course this area is a little bit brighter. So the sunlight coming into my room is through a tinted window. I have to keep the window closed because there's a lot of outside noise and I want to minimize it from reaching my microphone. And I don't know if you can see here, but this is the Rode video mic that I've been using for this video. Alright, let's switch over to the Sony Xperia Pro-I. I don't know what happened during this portion of the all lights off test for the Sony Xperia Pro-I, but apparently it didn't record the audio for this clip. The ISO is at 6400 and the shutter speed is at 1/30. I think the issue with the audio was due to loose connectors for the Rode extension cable to extend the video mic from the Xperia Pro-I to a spot in front of me. I have two adapters. One is from Rode itself and from another company called Boya. I'm going to show you what happens when you insert the output jack into the input section here for this Rode adapter. You can tell there wasn't even a click, so this is very easy to come out. If I do this to the audio jack on the Xperia Pro-I, same thing. It's very easy to pull out. Now look what happens when I use the Boya adapter. Rode output jack going into the Boya. Try to see if you can hear this. There's a click. Look how strong that connection is. I don't know if you can see my veins here on my arms, but I really have to pull this out. Not like the Rode adapter here, which just falls in and out easily. What I think happened was when I moved the Rode video mic to a position in front of me, these cables are moving around and these maybe pulled out and there wasn't a secure connection throughout the entire line. I'm back on the Sony ZVE-10 in aperture priority mode. Everything is in auto except for, of course, the aperture, which is set at f2.0. What I've noticed with the Sony Xperia Pro-I when it starts to give me overheating warnings is that it usually happens around 30 degrees Celsius. So in my room right now, it is 30 degrees Celsius. What I'm planning to do this weekend, if the weather permits, I'm going to take both cameras outdoors in low light, and I will try to do a comparison between the two in environments where I don't have control over the lights. Many of us don't just do vlogs inside our room or a studio. We also like to go outdoors and do them as well. So hopefully I can get that video up by next week or the following week. It's okay doing videos in inclement weather with the Sony Xperia Pro-I because it's waterproof, but cannot say the same thing for the Sony ZVE-10. And maybe that's something Sony should think about when they introduce their next generations of vlogging cameras. Sony, we don't just do indoor vlogs, we also like to go outdoors and record too. At least put in some weather resistance for light rain or something. That's it for this video. I hope you found the information useful. If you have any comments or questions, or if there are any other comparisons you want me to make between these two cameras, please list it in the comments. I try my best to respond to each comment quickly, and if there is a video that you want me to do and it's reasonable, then I'm more than happy to do it for you. Please hit that like button to get this video out to more viewers. It's up to you to subscribe. I always say this, I'm still mostly a health and fitness channel, but maybe in the future I can make a channel solely for this type of content. Until next time, stay safe, keep learning. Aloha. If you want to know how to set aperture priority mode on the Sony ZVE-10, it's very simple to do. If you're going to make a vlog or do a video, make sure you are in video mode by pressing this top button here. Next, all you need to do is go to the FN button here, which is the quick access menu. Press it. And if you go into the lower right corner, you'll see an option to pick the shooting mode for this camera. Go ahead and just push the button here, and it will give you a list of shooting modes that you can do. So just scroll down until you see an old school video camera icon with an A, and that will be aperture priority mode. Push on this button again, and all you have to do to change your aperture is by moving this dial here. So you can see that you can adjust the different apertures. If you want to keep your ISO on auto, go ahead and just push here, and it will give you an auto option. Of course, if you want to change it to other ISOs, you can do that as well. To keep the white balance on auto, just go into the FN button here, your quick access menu, and you will see an option here for white balance to go ahead and set it on auto. This video was filmed on the Sony Xperia Pro-I in auto mode, and I'm using the stereo microphones on this camera so you can hear how the audio is.